I found this article on gamesindustry.biz, and I was very interested in sharing my opinions on it. The games industry should lead by example when it comes to inclusivity and accessibility, according to producer, writer, and campaigner Felicia Prin. I had to look up Felicia Prin. I'd never heard of her. She has got a YouTube channel. Her latest video was 3 weeks ago. Her oldest was 9 years ago. As you can obviously see as well, she goes by Lisha Prin. Disabled people are disproportionately unemployed and face employment discrimination at much higher levels than the general population, said Prin, who is legally blind. Well, first, I think she's like 95% blind. Like on some of her videos, I guess she puts her phone up here in order to use it. So I think that's an important distinction to make. And also, well, they're gonna be kind of disproportionately unemployed because they have things they can't do. They can't do every job. However, as Prin noted, just because discrimination is illegal doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Laws alone are not enough. There needs to be societal change, and the games industry has a role it can play in that. I think you are overestimating the power of the games industry. We as disabled people finally might have a real role for ourselves. In the games industry, you, HR people, CEOs, people in power, you have the chance to actually change the world and actually change how people perceive us in the future. Because the more companies willing to openly recruit and openly include disabled people in their teams, the less of a stigma it becomes for other industries. This just sounds like you want companies to be bragging about hiring disabled people, which would just lead to them to having quotas on how many people of them they need to hire, which is not a good thing. They should hire the people who are most qualified, and it doesn't matter if they're disabled or not. This is something I dealt with a lot as a youngster. One of the reasons I never thought I would work in the games industry, because when I was younger, I was told by adults in my life that my employment prospects were limited. Yet they are. If you're 95% blind, there are a lot of jobs you cannot have. That is something I've been told my entire life. I've never been told that I could be anything I wanted to be the way my friends were. You can't be anything you want to be. Well, you can within reason, assuming what you want to be. It doesn't require a lot of sight specifically for you. I don't care how much you want to be, you're never going to be a pilot. Additional benefits from hiring people with disabilities: make more games with increased accessibility. Colorblind mode, font sizes, mappable controller inputs, or sound design. Areas of accessibility are easily overlooked when no one on the team has had to think about them as part of their daily lives. Okay, first off, if you have a disability that makes it difficult for you to enjoy a video game, then chances are you are not the target audience. Now, yes, it will be nice if they include something that allows you to get more enjoyment out of these video games, but it is not necessarily a requirement, as you are not the person they are marketing to. While any product can be enjoyed by everyone, that does not mean it is intended for everyone. There are always target audiences. And the part about things being easily overlooked when you don't experience them, the definition of empathy, I have it right here: the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. And the inability to do that is considered a disorder. The inability to empathize means you have a problem. So I always hate the outlook that you can't understand something just because you haven't experienced it. That's not true. There are a lot of examples out there of times where not having an inclusive team came back to bite the company. Looking at examples where others have failed can help you not to fail. I couldn't find any of these examples, actually. All I ever found were articles complaining about how there was a lack of diversity, which, again, is not an important thing. It just reminds me, I think it was Kathleen Kennedy or something. She went into a department and it was mostly men, and she said it was unacceptable. Why is it unacceptable? Did mainly men apply for this job? The whole thing comes down to equal opportunity, equal outcome are not the same thing. I'm sorry, but I don't think your sexual orientation or the color of your skin has any bearing on the workplace. Some data suggests that 1 in 5 people who play games have a disability of one form or another that could affect their gaming experience. The absolute minimum developers should do is make use of free online resources or communities. I actually looked up some statistics for that. 1 in 5, 20.5% players of casual video games have a physical, mental, or developmental disability, compared with 15.1% of the American population overall who are disabled. Compared with casual gamer population as a whole, which estimates peg at 300 million to 400 million players worldwide, those with disabilities play more frequently, for more hours per week, and for longer periods of time per gaming session. Well, there's probably a reason for that, especially when you consider at the very beginning of this article, it mentions that they are unemployed more. Well, they have more free time, they can play games more and longer. 13,296 casual game players responded to the survey, with 2,728 respondents, 20.5%, identifying themselves as mildly, 22%, moderately, 54%, or severely, 24% disabled. Of those, 46 indicated that their primary disability was physical, 29% said it was mental, and 25% stated they had a developmental or learning disability. Over two-thirds, 69% of disabled respondents were female, and a third, 35% of all respondents had another person, parent, adult offspring, spouse, guardian, or caregiver assisting them in taking the survey. Now, if the gaming community is pegged at 300 million to 400 million, I don't think 13,296 casual game players is a good enough size to just say that 1/5 of all gamers are disabled. You have to have some sort of input from the disabled community because we want to help. Not to mention, when you let us help, we're going to tweet about it, because most of us are not used to feeling included or feeling appreciated, so when it happens, we get excited. We tell the world, and that's good publicity for you. You don't want to be the company that forgot to do a thing and you're left behind. Okay, they don't have to get input from you. And what exactly do you mean by input? I'm quite curious. And why would you want businesses trying to use disabled people as free publicity? That sounds immoral and wrong. There's an idea that if you are disabled, you are in constant need of help with every task that you do, and that there are no tasks, or very few tasks, that you can do without assistance from a supervisor or coworker. I really think that depends on the disability you have. I've worked with someone who couldn't hear before. There wasn't anything I could do that he couldn't. The only problem was just communication. I just had to write down anything I wanted to say to him. That didn't cause too many issues, but still, it doesn't. There were still some things that he couldn't do. Like, you wouldn't want this man out at Walmart pushing carts because he couldn't hear cars coming. That would be dangerous. But the reality is, every person alive has strengths and weaknesses. There is no single person that is perfect. Everyone else is flawed in some way and will experience situations where their skills and abilities have a limit. That is comparing apples to oranges. Having a disability and saying that no one is perfect is nowhere near the same thing. One of my ears is slightly higher than the other. All that does is affect my ability to wear sunglasses. Having one arm is a disability that affects your ability to work. Not being able to see affects your ability to work. It is not really a weakness. It is an inability to do something. Now, I highlighted this next part because I highlighted this next part in a different color because it really made me just go, what are you talking about? Prin highlighted a number of things the industry can do to be more forward-facing in this respect. A less transparent hiring process may sound counterintuitive, but Prin suggested that information around an individual's disability to be held back from the application. I don't think disabled people should really tell in CVs and interviews. If you feel that someone might be disabled, I don't think it's in your best interest as an HR manager, as a hiring person, as a team member to obsess over it. I disagree. If someone has a disability and you're going to be hiring them, I think you deserve to know about it. There could be any amount of jobs that a certain disability is something you do not want doing that job. If I'm going to hire someone to be entering information on a computer and they have trouble seeing, then I'm going to want to make sure that they are still qualified to do the job. I know that some blind people can type just fine. I'm going to want to make sure that they are one of those people that can do that. Saying that you should be able to withhold this information from your employer, that opens up so many avenues to be taken advantage of that is unfair to employers. On this next part, oftentimes there are mental barriers for us. Should we apply? Do we stand a chance? Are we going to be taken seriously? Are they going to listen to us? Are they going to trust us? Everybody has these thoughts. I applied for a job 2 days ago, and I'm 100% sure I'm not going to get it because I have doubts like these. That is just being normal, really. And finally, if you want to make a game that is accessible, and if accessibility is something that your company values, then you have to consult a disabled person. And it can't just be a person with one specific kind of thing that they struggle with. It has to be several people sometimes, and it has to be over several occasions. I don't feel it's enough to just make one phone call, feel good about yourselves that you called, and then implement maybe one small thing and move on. Well, they aren't required to cater to everybody. If someone wants to make a video game and they don't make any additional features that make it easier for someone with a disability, that is their prerogative to do it. In too many ways, all this just sounds like is affirmative action for the disabled in the gaming industry, which affirmative action was very bad in schools. It's not effective, and it would not be effective here. All that really should matter is that someone who is qualified gets hired. If you happen to be disabled and you can prove that you are qualified, that is good for you. But the fact that you are disabled should not be the first thing that is being looked at. You should be trying to prove that you can do the job that you want. That is how everybody should do things. Thank you for watching me ramble, and have a good day.